Dr. Nicholas Romanov and his son Severin Romanov. Thank you very much both for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you, Adam. Pleasure to be here.
Let's start with you, Severin. Talk about your company or the Pose Method Incorporated and tell us what you guys are about. And I'm sure this stemmed from your father's research.
Absolutely. Well, as chief executive of Pose Method Inc., this is a company that Dr. Romanov founded the method in 1977. And essentially, it's all about key positions. That's why it's called the Pose Method. If any of your listeners have ever taken martial arts or learned ballet, they'll already be familiar with this method of teaching. It's essentially through key positions. So you'll have a starting position, and then you'll have the action. And that's how martial arts already is taught. And so Dr. Romanov approached running in this very same fashion. He found the key position in running and then began to evaluate what other core elements are in every runner's stride. He evaluated thousands of runners in the 1970s. And what he was looking for is not the differences in everyone's running stride, but the similarities. Mm-hmm. So what he was able to uncover are the three elements that all of us do, no matter how well or how poorly we run, and he just gave them names. He called it the pose position, falling forward, and pulling the foot from the ground. All of us do these three elements in our running, and the way the pose method approaches curtailing injuries is by removing the inefficiencies in our running stride moving forward.
And I feel like, listen, this is a great time in Chicago right now for running. The fall is amazing. It's amazing to run at night in the fall here in Chicago, even in the middle of the day when it's like the worst out. It's still awesome. And we got the marathon coming up next week, which is fantastic as well. I feel like everyone out there training is just kind of like, well, let's just go run. And they don't really think about how they run. Can you describe the first step with the pose position and what that kind of looks like and what that is?
It's a very simple one. As if you imagine number 4, it's a close approximation to what I call pose. And it's a mid-stance in running. It's you standing on one foot, bearing your weight on the forefoot, the other leg, what we call recovery leg, and actually foot, it's under your hip, and you're in a straight vertical position from which actually you are falling. This is what pose. And after that, you just fall forward. It's in the fashion of rotational movement of the body around the point of support. It's just a pivotal movement, basically, of the body. While doing this, you are moving forward. And when that falling is ending, you're just pulling foot from the ground and recovering back to the pose or number 4 position before you almost land in the next step. And this continuous cycle of movement is the actual running.
Right, and that's the most fluid way. That's the stop. That's the starting point of the most fluid way. And I heard you say the number 4, and I can picture it right now where one leg's down, you got the other knee bent, crossing over like a 4. And it's also probably really hard to hold yourself in that position as well, but it's obviously a fluid motion. How does this keep one healthy if they can perfect how this looks?
This is what Pose Method is about, how to teach this, all three elements in spite that it's so simple, just 3 elements and just one key pose. Because we never thought how to do this, and our perception actually doesn't have it, that kind of imagination. It's difficult of this kind. It's not physical difficulty, it's all perception difficulty. And this is what we are having biggest difficulty to teach people, because you have to leave the field of so-called simple natural running when you're not thinking about anything. You start to think about this, and then you start to perceive something very simple, but which never was in your receptive field. And it takes quite time to transitioning from not thinking about anything to get into the field of your senses, new senses. And when you will get there, then everything gets into fluid motion, and there will be a very nice, easy, light feeling in running. And then, obviously, you have to perfect this again and again, and
Yes.
it's an endless process. So you can be progressing entire your life. But the price for this is injury-free running for life, faster running, and your ability to run longer. This is what you will gain.
You're listening to Score Values. I'm your host, Adam Harris. You just heard from a three-time Olympic running coach, Dr. Nicholas Romanov. His son, Severin Romanov, they are both joining us right now. They have Pose Method, Inc. Dr. Romanov invented the Pose Method for running back in the late 70s after studying thousands and thousands of runners, and this is an efficient way to run. It's the way that everyone should try and get to. There's 3 steps. I mean, everyone has different ways of running, I imagine. Severin, but, everyone can get down to these 3 basic steps and kind of get their running in a fluid motion, which makes it more efficient and, like Doctor said, keep you going longer.
That's correct, Adam. And what I can tell you is we've worked with the U.S. military for 6 years now. We started in 2008. And running injuries are the biggest problem for runners. It has one of the highest incidences of injuries of any sport. We're talking about anywhere between 65 and 85% injuries every single year. Mm-hmm. And that's because we come at running very casually. We approach it very casually. There's a paradigm in running where when you decide you want to run, all you need to do is go buy a pair of shoes and run. If you were to approach golf or tennis with that same kind of lackadaisical attitude, let me go ahead and buy some golf shoes and go, swing a club 10,000 times.
Yeah.
No one would subscribe to this lunacy. And so that's where running gets so many people injured. That's where the big problem is the paradigm is all about how long do you run versus how skillfully do you run. And so our work with the military for 6 years basically started to change that process. We worked with Fort Sill in 2008, and they have an enormous internal injury problem to the tune of $300 million a year in lost duty time for running-related injuries in basic training. When we started working with Fort Sill and certified just over 24 drill instructors, what ended up happening is they had one of the lowest incidences of injuries in the entire U.S. Army the following year. And that's how our work started to snowball with the military. And now currently we're actually working with a local group in Chicago. Their name is Accelerated Rehab. And we are working with them very closely. They have a wonderful staff, and they're actually taking measures as a physical therapy company to do something very innovative. They're looking to treat and prevent injuries before they happen. So most people know their therapist as someone that they go and get, rehab for. The truth is now that paradigm is going to shift. What if you could see your therapist to help establish a great motor pattern before you get injured? That's what Accelerated Rehab is doing, and that's why Dr. Romanov will be joining Accelerated this coming week in Chicago for the Chicago Marathon. On October 9th, he'll be at the Accelerated Physical Therapy in Old Town, 1640 North Wells. He'll be there at 7 p.m. doing a book signing of his new book, The Running Revolution, which basically quickly outlines everything you've heard. The pose method, how to easily, through 10 master lessons, learn the pose method and implement it into your own running so that you can run injury-free.
Yeah, that's something, because this is over radio, and it's very, very, I think at this point, It's great to know that there's a way to streamline running in 3 simple steps to prevent injury, to make it more efficient. That's something that I'm personally very interested in as well. And I'm trying to picture right now how, like, what these steps mean and why and how they can actually grow it and make your running better. And I'm assuming that all that stuff's in the book as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's not only is it in the book, but we also created a video series for that very purpose. If you go to the link youtube.com/learn how to run with no spaces, you'll find over 90 minutes of high-quality video, which we shot in studios around the country over the last 2 years. And it's meant to be a complement to the Running Revolution book. And those two work well hand in hand together. So if you read the book and you understand the concepts there, the videos will further enhance those concepts through a visual standpoint. And like I said, Dr. Romanov just released his book, and he'll be available at the Chicago Marathon Expo to talk further about this at the Accelerated Rehab booth. And it's booth 579. And we're really looking forward to it. We love Chicago, and we're really looking forward to being with the community of runners there. And hopefully we can have a great impact on their running.
Well, this is a great running community. And I know for a fact, I mean, I ran the marathon last year, and I remember afterwards, basically for like a month, like my legs didn't feel right, and that's just what's going to happen after you run that great of a distance. But I know that this is a skill, and I think people don't really look at running as a skill, like you described, where they just kind of jump out there and run. Dr. Romanov, was that something that kind of inspired you to evaluate and break down running? Was that it was something that was kind of maybe even like a lost art, where everyone's trying to figure out how to hit a baseball, how to catch a football, how to shoot a basketball, but really figuring out how to run better is something that no one was really tackling, I'm sure, at the time.
It's correct. It was a lack of this kind of knowledge, how to teach run better, run more efficient. And the method by itself didn't exist. And technique, concept, and model of running technique was absent as well. This is what moved me to develop Poe's method while I was a young university teacher at that time.
I mean, that's awesome, yeah. So Dr. Romanov and Severin Romanov, thank you very much for joining me today. I'm very, very excited, and I hope everyone goes out and sees you guys. You said on the 9th at Accelerated on Wells Street and also at the Expo, right?
It's correct.
That's correct, in Old Town, 1640 North Wells, Suite 105. We'll be there at 7 to 9 p.m. on October 9th for a signing.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. I appreciate your time. Great information. Everyone's running right now, so they should definitely figure out, at least get the book, look at it, or figure out better ways to run to keep yourself healthy, prevent various injuries like plantar fasciitis, runner's knee, shin splints, all that stuff. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Adam, and best wishes in your marathon next one.
I'm sorry?
Method, obviously.
I'm sorry?
With Poe's method, obviously, without having pain.
Yes, no pain, exactly. That's perfect.
Thank you for having us, Adam. Have a great day.